We have Joker 2. I'm not even gonna attempt to try that French part. Folie à deux. What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. As of recording this video, which is December 17th, Rotten Tomatoes has come out with their list of the most anticipated movies of 2024, and this was updated 3 days ago, so they might keep adding movies to this list as movies are announced. But what we're going to be doing today is ranking these movies by how much I'm excited by them. So I guess my most anticipated movies of the most anticipated movies of 2024. So here's how my rankings are going to work. The top of the top is I need it right now. I needed it yesterday, and I will be the first one in line to get a ticket to watch this movie. Next up is sure, I'm excited about this movie. It's not really a movie that's making my will to live any stronger, but yeah, I'm excited about this movie. Next up is I guess. Movies in this category will be things I could watch and maybe not watch. If I'm bored, maybe I'll go see it. If I'm hanging out with friends, maybe I'll go see it. If I'm making a review, maybe I'll go see it. But nothing special to me, you know? Or after that is I need convincing. I need convincing from y'all to tell me it's going to be an amazing movie and tell me I need to make a review on it, because otherwise it seems like it's going to be a drag to me and I might just move on. And our last category is skip. All right, let's jump into ranking our movies because this will take forever. Let's go. So first up, January, we have Mean Girls. Now, I was a huge fan of the original Mean Girls. However, I know this is going to be a musical, and I know Renee Rapp is very, very talented, and I'm sure the music will be great. However, from the trailer itself, I was not super impressed. I'm going to put it under, I guess. I just hope it doesn't end up being cringy and ruin the name of such an iconic piece of media. Okay, next, moving on to February, we have this movie called Argylle. Now, this seems like it's going to be a comedy action type of movie, and it's directed by Matthew Vaughn, who made Kingsman. So this will probably be a pretty solid movie, but it's definitely not making me, you know, super excited or anything beyond that. Also, the cast seems really stacked too, including Henry Cavill, John Cena, Bryan Cranston, Ariana DeBose, Samuel L. Jackson, and Dua Lipa. So kind of like Mean Girls, I'll put it under I guess. Okay, moving on to Madam Web. I actually made a trailer reaction to this, but I think this movie is going to be an automatic flop. I think most people don't even know what Madam Web is, and they don't realize it's technically supposed to be a part of the Spider-Verse. I'm also just not impressed by Dakota Johnson whatsoever. Maybe she'll impress me, but I'll be honest, I'll probably skip this movie. So first one under skip. And funny enough, on this list there are 2 other movies that are going to be a part of the Sony Spider-Verse movies, so I guess we'll get to those too. Okay, moving on to March movies. First up is Dune Part 2. Now, I watched the original Dune and I wasn't blown away. I will say I'm not the biggest sci-fi fan in the first place, but I just thought it was kind of slow, and if you didn't read the books or are part of the fandom already, you just kind of get lost. I do love Timothée Chalamet though, and I do love Zendaya, so maybe I'll go watch it, but I do need some convincing about this movie. Okay, next up is Imaginary, which is another Blumhouse horror movie. Now, I don't think this is going to be very good, but I laughed out loud at the trailer when the little girl was like, maybe we shouldn't be friends anymore. I just think it looks like they're trying to be Megan, but it doesn't look as iconic as Megan. So if I'm being honest, I'm going to have to put it under skip. Okay, next up is Kung Fu Panda 4. Now, I was such a big fan of the original Kung Fu Panda. Unfortunately, I haven't really been keeping up. I don't even remember if I saw 3 or not, but it's usually a pretty solid movie, so I'll just give it a sure. I guess I'll watch it. So next up is Arthur the King, which apparently is based on true events. It's about a stray dog during their adventures during the Racing World Championship, so it seems like it's going to be a dog sport movie. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Mark Wahlberg fan. I like Simu Liu, but can we be honest for a second? Let's just be really honest for a second, okay? I don't think Simu Liu is a really good actor. I said it, okay? Don't come for me, but again, I'd never really seen him pull off any great acting in his movies. So I'm gonna put Arthur the King under skip as well. Okay, next up is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I didn't even watch the other Ghostbusters remake, but I do like Paul Rudd, I do like Finn Wolfhard, I do like Patton Oswalt. I just don't care that much for Ghostbusters, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to need some convincing on this one. Okay, Mickey 17. Directed by Bong Joon-ho, who we know from Parasite and Snowpiercer. And let's look at the cast for a second, okay? Robert Pattinson, Naomi Ackie, Toni Collette, Mark Ruffalo, Steven Yeun. I mean, that alone, I'm sold. And I know I just said I'm not a huge sci-fi fan, but let's just take a look at the concept here. Robert Pattinson stars as a disposable employee, one whose body is regenerated with previous memories intact every time he dies, on a mission to colonize a distant world. This reminds me a little bit of Dollhouse, and I love that show, but either way you spin it, I cannot wait to watch this movie. I think it will be really, really good. I bet it will be another strong awards contender for sure. So naturally, I'm going to put Mickey 17 as the first I need it right now. Okay, moving on to our April movies. Godzilla x Kong The New Empire, which I also reacted to the trailer on my channel already. So I stand by what I said. It doesn't look like it's going to be a great movie. It looks like a Marvelized version of Godzilla and Kong, but fans of the two monsters probably don't watch these movies for it to be good anyway. Although I did hear Godzilla -1 was pretty good, so maybe I will check that out. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put this movie under skip. Okay, next up is Challengers, which stars Zendaya, and I'm not sure who the other two actors are. So this seems to be sort of a sports movie, but also probably mostly drama. I will say from the trailer, it looked pretty spicy. Now, as for me, I think I'm going to need a little bit of convincing on this one. Look at this, there's 2 Zendaya movies on the need convincing list. This is blasphemous already. Okay, next up is Civil War, directed by Alex Garland, which we know from Ex Machina and Annihilation, which were both 2 pretty decent movies. And it stars Kirsten Dunst, which, where has she been recently? So the trailer looked pretty decent, although I'm a little worried about it. I don't love the idea of portraying Civil War because that's not exactly out of the realm of possibilities these days. And I really don't need art to imitate life right now. But you know, the movie itself looks pretty good. So I will put this next to Shore. Moving on to our May movies. First up is The Fall Guy, which stars Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, which is already 2 huge powerhouses. So it seems like it's going to be another action-packed comedy film. Seems like it will be fun to watch with friends, but I'm not really dying to watch it. So I'll put Fall Guy in, I guess. Next up is Back to Black, which is a biopic about Amy Winehouse. Now, I'm not a huge fan of biopics, but I did love Bohemian Rhapsody, I did love Rocket Man, and I do think Amy Winehouse is a very interesting person, so it naturally makes sense for her to get her own biopic. Also, this image looks exactly like Amy Winehouse, so good job on that. My only qualm about this is that it's directed by the same guy who made 50 Shades of Grey, so I will need some convincing on this one. Okay, next up is If, directed by John Krasinski. And IF apparently stands for Imaginary Friends. The cast also looks insane. It's Ryan Reynolds, John Krasinski, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Steve Carell, Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, Maya Rudolph, Awkwafina. I mean, that is star-studded for sure. And based on the trailer, it looked very wholesome and it looks like it's gonna be really funny. I'm at the point where I kind of trust Ryan Reynolds for the most part. I think every movie that he's in is either average or above average. So surprisingly, I'm actually gonna put If. I need it right now. Seems like it's going to be hilarious. Next up is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Now, I've never been a huge fan of the Mad Max franchise, but the trailer looked good. It also stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth, so those are huge pluses. But I think I'll put it under I guess. Okay, next up is Garfield, which is another cartoon character that Chris Pratt is voicing. Now, I'm not going to write this off completely because Super Mario Brothers was also getting a lot of hate, but then it turned out to be pretty decent. Not the best, but it was decent. So I'll put Garfield under, I guess. Okay, next is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Jesus Christ, that is a mouthful. I was a huge fan of the original Planet of the Apes, but after that, I just never really kept up. So kind of like Kong and Godzilla, I'm gonna have to put this under skip because it's just another franchise I'm not a huge fan of. Okay, so moving on to June movies. First up is Ballerina. So this is a spin-off film of the John Wick universe, which has Ana de Armas as one of the female assassins. I honestly don't have that much to say about this. Not a huge fan of John Wick, so I'll probably not even watch this either. It's gonna be another skip for me. Next up is Bad Boys 4, which has Will Smith and Martin Lawrence come back yet again. I don't know, you guys, this is gonna have to be a skip for me. Not super interested. Okay, next up is Inside Out 2, which I also reacted to on my channel already, but I'm really excited for this movie. As I said in my reaction video, I think Inside Out is one of the franchises of Pixar that actually deserves a sequel because the story naturally progresses as Riley gets older, so there's obviously going to be new emotions. And I feel like they're going to make this another emotional movie, and I love the first one, so I'm definitely highly anticipating this movie. It's going to be I need it right now. Moving on to The Bike Riders, which was originally supposed to come out in 2023, but because of the strikes, it got moved to 2024. Now it has Austin Butler and Tom Hardy, and I'm kind of fans of both of them, but seems like it's gonna be a historical fiction type of film. I don't know, you guys, maybe it'll be a good awards movie, but from the trailer, not impressed. I'm gonna need some convincing on this one. Okay, moving on to A Quiet Place Day 1. So this is going to be a prequel of the 2 A Quiet Place movies that have come out. Now I think the original Quiet Place was one of the strongest horror movies I've seen in recent years. It's one of those rare movies that you can get the entire theater to be dead quiet. There's a lot of creative ways to make horror and jump scares happen in the movie. Also look at the cast. It has Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, Alex Wolff, and more. I'm ready to be back in A Quiet Place's universe, although I do kind of wish we got to see A Quiet Place 3 before this, but whatever. I'm actually gonna put A Quiet Place in I Need It Right Now. Okay, July movies. Despicable Me 4. I don't really have too much to comment about this. I'll say, I guess. They're never horrible, and they're also always huge moneymakers. I'm just tired of kids talking about it is all. Okay, moving on to Twisters, which is a sequel to the original 1996 Twister, which is actually a pretty good thriller. But this begs the question, do we really need to reboot Twister? I don't know, you guys. I'm gonna need some convincing on this one. Okay, Deadpool 3, which I know is going to be a huge anticipated movie for a lot of you guys, especially fans of Marvel. And this will be the first time that Wolverine, played by Hugh Jackman, will be making an appearance in the MCU, and it's going to be a rated R film for MCU. So those already are good, valid points to be hyped for this movie. Now, I'm kind of tired of Marvel, but because Deadpool seems to be in its own little bubble, I'm fine with that. And like I already said, Ryan Reynolds usually makes pretty decent movies, so I'm gonna put Deadpool 3 under sure. Okay, August movies. First up is Borderlands, which is directed by Eli Roth. Most recently, I watched his Thanksgiving movie, which was great. It's looking like Borderlands could also be a great raunchy, violent, hilarious movie. The cast is also already promising. It has Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jamie Lee Curtis, just to name a few. And we're seeing a trend of really good video game adaptations. So if we're following this trend, I'm hopeful that Borderlands will also be a good adaptation. So I'm going to put Borderlands in sure. Next up is another Alien movie that is untitled as of right now. I love the original 2 Aliens. I've never been a fan of remakes after remakes and remakes. This is directed by the guy who made Don't Breathe, which is a pretty good horror movie, although I just think it's sort of similar concept to A Quiet Place, just not done as well. But who knows, maybe it'll be kind of decent. But for me, I'm gonna need a little bit of convincing to even watch this movie. Okay, our last movie of August is Kraven the Hunter. Now, I know a lot of y'all are fans of Aaron Taylor Johnson, but I've just never been that impressed. I also think Kraven is one of the weakest villains in Spider-Man, so did we really need a standalone movie for him? I don't think so, but he can join Madam Web under the skip category. Moving on to our September movies, first up is Beetlejuice 2, which is directed by Tim Burton, and it reprises roles of Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder, and even has Jenna Ortega, who of course is famous for being on Wednesday and being in a bunch of horror movies. So I'm very excited to see this version of Beetlejuice modernized and have Jenna Ortega in it. I get a feeling it'll be pretty good. This movie will definitely be in my sure category. Okay, moving on to Transformer 1, yet another franchise that has been beaten to death. Although this movie will be a little different because it is going to be animated, it will be a prequel, and it has people like Scarlett Johansson and Chris Hemsworth on it. as well as Keegan-Michael Key. So I'm thinking maybe this will be a funny animated movie, but I will need to hold off and maybe see a trailer. Let's see if the animation will be unique. Maybe it'll be something like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which blew me out of the water. So I think this is gonna straddle the line between need convincing, but I will put it under, yeah, I guess. Okay, next is an untitled Saw sequel. So the last movie we saw from the Saw franchise was Saw X, which apparently it was pretty good. I didn't watch it, maybe I'll check it out. These people just keep bringing back horror movies and never letting it end. For me though, I'm gonna need some convincing. Maybe if I go watch Saw X and think it's good, maybe I'll be on board with this. Moving on to October movies. We have Joker 2. I'm not even gonna attempt to try that French part. Folie Deux, which of course reprises Joaquin Phoenix's role as Joker and Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Very, very excited. Seems like it's gonna be a musical, question mark, but I think it's gonna be really good and I'm very excited. In fact, I'm so excited, I need it right now. Next up is Terrifier 3. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen the original two Terrifiers, but I recently saw Terrifier, I think last year, fell in love with it. So campy, so violent and gory. But Art the Clown is for sure one of my all-time favorite horror movie characters, and he is a very recent character, so that's already saying something. Also, they're getting a much bigger budget on this film. Makes me very, very excited. I sound so demented right now to want this horrific movie to come, but listen, I'm a horror movie fanatic, and this is one of those movies that go way beyond the limits of what needs to be shown, but doesn't anyway. So I'm actually gonna put it, I need it right now. I am so excited to see this movie. Okay, moving on to November movies. First up is Venom 3. I actually liked the first Venom. Second Venom was horrible. Did my boy Carnage so dirty. I don't know if the third Venom will be any better, so I'm gonna need some convincing. I do like Tom Hardy as Venom though. He's solid. Next up is Gladiator 2, still directed by Ridley Scott. Now I know a lot of people love Gladiator, but to me it was just I think I'm going to need to be convinced to see this movie. Moving on to Wicked Part 1, directed by John M. Chu, starring Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, and Jonathan Bailey. I think this will be really, really good. I think people have been waiting for this movie to come out for a while now. And like the caption says, this is a legendary Broadway musical, so I really hope they get it right. But I am certainly very, very pumped for it, and I'm gonna put it, I need it right now. Okay, we are almost done, but moving on to December movies. The Karate Kid, yet another reboot. I actually saw an ad on Instagram for them casting the Karate Kid, so they haven't even got an actor to play who the Karate Kid will be yet, so it seems like Jackie Chan will be back, so that's exciting. But you know, I'm gonna have to need more information on it, but I will put it in, I guess, for now. Next up is The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. I'm not that familiar with The Lord of the Rings. I've never read the books, but I know the fandom is quite rabid for Lord of the Rings, so I'm gonna put it under need convincing. Maybe y'all can convince me why it's worth watching. Okay, next is Mufasa the Lion King. Now, I'm pretty sure it's popular opinion that the live action Lion King was just a terrible remake, but it still made a lot of money, so this is probably why they're allowed to make another Lion King. And it's going to be a prequel, of course, about Mufasa. But you know what? At least it's not a remake of the original, so there's nothing for it to mess up. So it actually has room to create its own music, has room to create its own story. So I'll actually put it under, I guess. Next up is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I actually thought the first two movies were really fun and definitely a good time to watch. I also just love Jim Carrey and I love James Marsden. But based on the description, it seems like Jim Carrey might skip out on this movie, which, oh, that might make this movie not as great. Maybe he'll surprise us and come back. I don't know. I have hopes for this movie, but I'm gonna put it under sure. Okay, this one is a surprising one. Nosferatu, which is directed by Robert Eggers, which directed The Witch and The Lighthouse, which are both these kind of auteur movies, but a lot of people liked it. This is a remake of the classic 1922 film, and it's actually sort of a ripoff of Dracula by Bram Stoker. I'm pretty sure the original got sued or something like that. But you know what? Bill Skarsgård, who plays Pennywise, is going to be playing Nosferatu, which makes me very interested in this. And also the rest of the cast looks great too. Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, Aaron Taylor Johnson for y'all Craven fans, Emma Corrin, and Willem Dafoe. I think this will be a really good movie, and in fact, I need it right now. Like, I need it yesterday. Okay, we are almost there, but last two movies. Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. Do I even need to say anything? This is automatically, I need it right now. That cliffhanger in the second movie had me screaming, but I am confident to say that both the first and the second movie are honestly masterpieces. Maybe some people don't think the second one is, but it's pretty universally agreed the first one is a masterpiece. And finally, I think this just got announced like yesterday or something, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F having Eddie Murphy come back. Now, I love Eddie Murphy, but I honestly haven't seen the original two. I know I'm Gen Z, whatever. So, not to end it on an anticlimactic note, but I'm going to put it on skip. Sorry. Okay, so did I have some really unpopular opinions? Let me know. Tell me your own rankings in the comments below. And let me know which movies you need right now. And also, happy holidays, everyone. I hope you guys stay safe, enjoy your time with family. 2024 will be a very, very exciting year, hopefully. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone.